Hey guys, what is going on? It is Brooke, or the Undead DM. I'm back at it again after a little while for a homebrew review for you today. And in tonight's episode of Homebrew Review, I'm going to be going over the Dungeon Coach's revised rest system. So, if you like what you see, please leave a like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more. With that, let's just get right into it. So, how this works... Apologies, I had to make a little cough. So, this entire portion is just him going over his problems with certain rests and how the mechanics are meant to work. But in the summary section, we can get the basic idea of what's going on here. So basically in the problems to fix, he addresses how that it destroys the pacing, how characters in the middle of, like, say, the Tomb of Horrors or the Tomb of Annihilation can just take a long rest wherever they want and there's no repercussions for it. The fact that long rest still seemed clunky and slow despite the 8 hours and how DMs can kind of just hand wave it. How thematically it doesn't fit that you can just take a 6-hour nap and all of your health is regained. How short rests are, though inherently weaker, they don't get used as much. And so his goal here is to buff short rests and nerf long rests a little bit. And these last two are basically talking about why certain things are the way they are. So if you want to read it, go ahead and pause the video now if you want to read this section. So here's his solution. So for short rests, he changed it so this way short rests are no longer 1 hour and are instead 10 minutes. And basically after that he doesn't go into any other real mechanics here. And then for long rests, he changes it from 8 hours to 6. And on top of that, after he changes it from 8 hours to 6, he makes it so it's a very weird way of doing it, but we're going to get to that. And with that, he also added the full rest, which is a new kind of rest, which works how long rests do now. Except the difference is that long rests, though they are only 6 hours now, full rests, they take about a day to 7 days to complete. And with that, we're actually going to get into the mechanics of it. So, a short rest is 10 minutes, and you spend hit dice as per rules is written, but you can only have 2 short rests every 24 hours. So it kind of incentivizes the party to use short rests more, to really utilize those 2 short rests that they get every 24 hours, as opposed to just taking a long rest in the middle of a dungeon. Then the long rest right here, it's 3 hours of no activity and 3 hours of light activity. And how he explains it in the video is a little bit strange, but essentially you can spend hit dice to regain HP, and then you regain half of your hit die pool at the end of the first 3 hours, and then you regain all spell slots at the end of the 6th hour. So basically how this works is that if you're something like an elf and you only need 4 hours for a long rest, basically the first 2 hours you recover HP, and then the other 2 hours that you're just doing rest and relaxation, you regain spell slots, if you have any. And you can only have 1 long rest per 24-hour period. So basically, in one adventuring day, You can have upwards of 4 short rests and 1 long rest, since you could take 2 short rests, then long rest, and then take 2 short rests again. And then a full rest takes 24 hours to a week. You regain all of your hit dice. You recover all spell slots. You lose all points of exhaustion. And you must be in a place of safety, usually with a bed. Now, from somebody who's been using a system very much like this, slightly tweaked a little bit to make it more fitting to more players, I gotta say, it has worked really well. If we're talking about new DMs, personally, if you're a new DM, I would recommend this, and there's a reason for that. Because short rests, the only class that really gets any sort of recovery are wizards and warlocks. So if you have a party that isn't really doing that, like they don't have those two classes, and you're predominantly playing something like a cleric or a druid who gets all their spell slots back on a long rest, I would recommend this kind of system for it. But if you're running like a hardcore 5th edition game, which I don't know how you could do, considering how it's so easy, but let's just say, for instance, you are running a much more down-to-books, rules-as-written game, and you want it to be tough for the players, so you amp up some things. You basically take the 4th edition rule of half health, double damage thing. You really want to make it tough? Go ahead and use this. But especially if you're a new Dungeon Master and you have a bunch of new players, or you are... So, apologies, let me rephrase. If you're a new Dungeon Master with experienced players, you could use this. If you're an experienced Dungeon Master with new players, you could use this. But from my personal experience, it works kind of well, and it really does incentivize my party personally to take a lot of short rests, because they know that they're going to get some kind of benefit from a short rest. Though, for a while there, I was running it a bit wrong, but it has worked out. So what I've done... Apologies. What I've done is I've actually allowed a player who has spell slots to recover half of their level rounded down with a maximum of a 5th level slot per short rest. So this gives things like the cleric, the druid, the paladin, the ranger, classes like that, the ability to recover spell slots. Now, that may seem like spellcasting is a little bit more powerful, and maybe it's just me because I predominantly have martial characters. I believe I have, if I remember correctly, I have a fighter, 2 monks, 2 artificers, a paladin, and a druid ranger, or a full druid, and 1 wizard. So it's not really that much of a problem for me personally, but I think it works out pretty well because my players, they don't tend to really think about what spells to use in certain scenarios. They just kind of do what people think 4th edition players do, where they just use their most powerful ones first and then go to the weaker ones. But a system that I've come to find that really works is make short rests 5 minutes. Make them like 5 minutes like they do in 4th edition, which I didn't even know prior to making it. But you basically take a 5-minute break. You recover HP using your hit dice like normal. You recover half of your level rounded down in spell slots. And then for a long rest, it's the same 6 hours, except you just regain half of your hit die pool, and then you just heal half of your maximum HP. Something similar. Or I allow the players to kind of describe what they're doing with their long rest. So if you're staying watch, you may get some like an extra bit of health or an extra bit of spell slots, but that's just me. And then for full rests, I basically give them like 3 days in a city, and they can get their full rest. Since there's not a lot of scenarios in which the players are going to be in a situation in the middle of a city where they're gonna have trouble, unless they're actively looking for a fight, then I'll probably be like, okay, well, you don't get the benefits of your full rest, so you have to take another 2 days. But I'm usually not that cruel. But in summary, I think the system is okay. I would not recommend this for anything other than, like, I guess, slow campaigns, or campaigns with really long dungeon crawls. If you're playing in, like, just a 1 encounter per day, or something like that type of system, then this really won't work for you, because the players are basically getting a long rest after every encounter anyway, so who cares? But if you're running a really combat heavy game like I am, where they're basically getting into fight after fight after fight constantly, then I would recommend the system, as it allows casters to be a little bit more, I don't want to say free because they do have a lot of options, but it allows them to be more willing to use less than optimal spells, because using less than optimal spells does suck when you could be doing something better. And so giving them the freedom as a player to kind of pick a suboptimal spells, knowing that they're going to get a short rest and at least get one of those spells back, does liberate the player a little bit, especially if they're not high optimization. Sorry about that. But if they're especially not high optimization, it's really nice. So I would recommend using this system if you are in a combat heavy game, you're a dungeon master, you've been playing for a while, you want your party to kind of get into dangerous situations and still have some form of maintenance of their resources, go right ahead. But other than that, I would not recommend it. It just needs a little bit more revision. Maybe at some point I'll come out with my own version of the rest system, let you guys view it for yourselves, but with that being said, I'd like to thank you all so much for watching this short homebrew review video. If you like what you see, please leave a like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more videos to come soon, and I'll see you all in the next one. Latest.